long time since I've ridden a 250, but today I've got the Suzuki GW 250. It's known as the Inazuma in Europe, and as you can see just by walking around it, it appears to be a much bigger bike than it actually is. And this is great really, given that the bike's aimed at not only people that have perhaps used it as a second bike, or the intent to use it as a second bike, but also for people that want to commute. And anything smaller than this generally tends to get bullied by traffic or in and around town. It's drawn its design cues from the B King. It's got a very similar headlight assembly. Obviously it's got these integrated indicators, oversized front mudguard. And the overall look of the bike really is, it's relatively appealing, certainly given what it's aimed at. So if you've got an A2 license, you can use this bike. It's A2 compliant, but also it's an ideal machine given its tank range and frugal fuel economy for anybody that wants to use it as a commuter. So let's hop on it, see how it rides around town, and give you an idea of what you can expect. Okay, so straight away here you can see that we've got a nice clear instrumentation panel. We've got a fuel gauge, we've got a gear indicator, which is great, and obviously we've got the usual high beam, oil and water warnings and so on. So let's see what all this is about. If you're used to riding big bikes, then straight away you'll feel that this thing is really, really light. But it's not ridiculously so, and it does give you the confidence to join moving traffic. You can see that the power's not going to give you any whiplash, but equally so it will allow you to keep up with the traffic around you with consummate ease, which is what you want from a commuter. Given the mix of roads between sort of 30, 60 miles an hour around town with dual carriageways and so on, this bike's more than capable of hustling you to work with no dramas. Obviously, being on a bike, you do have a tendency to jump into the outside lane all the time, and so it takes a little bit of getting used to. Having said that, we're not on a 125, and because the bike's so light, it does feel as though you are, but it has quite a smooth delivery of power, and although you've got to wring its neck a little bit to get the best out of it, anything under 5,000 RPM, and it will just poodle along. Take it over up towards 7,000 and you start to get quite, a little bit more power. The gearbox is like a kitten, so well behaved, nice and positive. I'll say straight back on the power again, and it's lovely and smooth. I think what this bike does, because there's no drama with it, you're not trying to keep the front wheel down, you're not worried about the back end coming out under power on an exit. I think what it does is it takes you straight back to when you first started to ride motorcycles. The weather forecast for today was sunny, but as usual in the UK, it's not the case, so we've got quite a damp, cold day. But as you can see, this bike is ideal. It's nice and light. It's ideal for doing what it's supposed to do around town. This tank holds 3 gallons, and given its consumption figures, that should see you for around about 250 miles between pit stops. The seat height's really low, and even though the seat's wide, it means that you can still comfortably get your feet down on the floor. Yeah, the good thing about this bike, as I said earlier, because of its size, whereas a 125, because it's quite small, might get bullied towards the curb by traffic, because this bike's quite large when you look at it, it kind of commands a little bit of respect. People are quite shocked when they come into the showrooms and see it and think, and that's the 250, because it really does hold its own against 600s in terms of size. You've got to work the gears quite a bit on it, but at the end of the day, this bike's producing, I think, 24 brake horsepower, so you'd expect it to be geared in such a way that you're going to need to work the gears a bit more than you would on a big V-twin, for instance. But yeah, I'm in third gear then. I just pulled away from 15 miles an hour, so you've only got to start using first and second when you're in real slow moving traffic. And again, just for legal sort of riding, 30 mile an hour, I'm in fifth gear there, 28 miles an hour, and it's just, it's nice and pleasant, if I'm honest. You don't have to think about it. You can ride along to work and worry about what you're going to have for tea, rather than be worrying about what the bike's doing. But again, as you can see, feet flat on the floor. Given the low price point of this bike, it does actually feel that there's quite a bit of quality about it. Switch gear feels nice. Yeah, I don't feel as though I'm on a cheap bike. So from a commuter point of view, even if you used to finance this bike, and I think Suzuki's got 0% finance on their bikes now, you're looking literally a couple of £1 a day to buy it. Depending on which finance package you choose, whether it's 0% or you go on the PCP. But literally, you can own this bike for a couple of £1 per week. We're doing somewhere in the region of 85 miles to the gallon. Given the price of a bus or a train ticket, you'd be a fool not to consider getting yourself the independence of something like this bike. I must admit, I've not been on a bus since, I'm going to hazard a guess at 1986. And I was shocked to find out that a ticket from where I live to town centre that used to cost 30p is now something like £3. That's one way. That's just unbelievable. So it's clear why the manufacturers, such as Suzuki, have decided to start producing bikes such as this that will offer freedom to people that usually use public transport. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, even if one bike's never enough, it really isn't. For a lot of bikers, you know, we want an adventure bike, we want a cruiser, we want something we can just pop down to the shops on. And again, this, you know, I'd find a place in my garage for this, I think. I really do. I really, really do. If I was going somewhere where I didn't want to take one of the bikes for whatever reason and I wasn't too up, I'd quite happy poodle around on this in summer. I really, really would. Okay, let's give it the test. Let's see if we can beat the traffic away from the lights. We're not really going to stand much chance of that with a traffic jam in front of us, but we're simulating city centre traffic. It's a city centre traffic test, brought to you by Millenium Motorcycles. And here we go. Yeah, unless we were up against the Lamborghini just then at the lights, I think it's safe to say that it can hold its own. We've all got fond memories of our first bikes, I know I have. And this is one of those bikes that kind of rekindles that. See, I've actually forgotten I'm on a bike. I forgot to filter here. I'm just enjoying the ride. Don't know if you can see or not, but I can see my reflection in this car in front. And as I said before, it's not the ugliest bike I've ever seen. It's not a bad looking motor, to be fair. They've done a good job on it. I've known riders before now that have ridden all their life, but as they get older, because let's be honest, big bikes, they're not too easy to move about on your own sometimes. And so as they've got older, they've kind of given up biking. And again, it really would be an ideal tool for them. It's light, feels nice. It's not going to injure them in any way. And more importantly, they'd still have a bike in the garage. Still a biker. So okay, I'm doing 60 miles an hour there. I'm on 7,000 RPM. And yeah, okay, I wouldn't want to do ridiculous distance at that speed. But it's comfortable. I'm well away from the red line. Yeah, all in all, you know, it's a great little package, this. That's respectable enough. That really is. What more do you need? And to be fair, it's not the worst sounding bike I've ever heard either. Yeah, job well done, Suzuki. This thing's way more impressive than I figured it was going to be when I brought it out today. Tell you what, that gear indicator is invaluable. It really is, because on a bike like this, I suppose once you got used to it, it'd be fine, but straight away you kind of forget, and I'm in third, I'm in fourth, I'm in fifth. And that little indicator there, it really does do its job. It's a nice little touch, certainly on a bike like this. There you go, I forgot I was in sixth. I mean, okay, this bike, it doesn't scream out the back, but that's not what kind of bike it is. It really isn't. It's more of a tool than a leisure machine. That said, I'm having fun. This is leisure. It's not unpleasurable. It really isn't. It's fun. It's a great little bike. It really is. Well done, Suzuki. 10 out of 10. Like a cheeky little Yorkshire Terrier that wags its tail a lot and is just happy to see you. So we've had the bike in heavy traffic. We've taken it along a dual carriageway, national speed limit, and yeah, it can hold its own. So for those who want to commute, or for those who want to use this as an everyday toy and commuter, or for those that just want a bike in the garage that they can sometimes chuck a jacket on and go out and enjoy the outdoors, then yeah, this bike's definitely worth looking at. There's quite a lot of engine braking on it, given its small capacity. Not ridiculous, don't get me wrong, it's not throwing me over the bars, but dreaded speed bump test passed with honours. So yeah, everything about this bike just makes riding simple, and given what the majority of users that would buy this bike want, that fits right in. You don't want to be concentrating too hard. The clutch is nice and easy, the gears are foolproof, the accelerator behaves itself, it brakes nice and easily. There's nothing that would jump out that's exceptional, because we're not reviewing an exceptional bike. If you want an exceptional bike, you need to start trebling the cost of what this bike is. Having said that, there's no downsides, and it would be unfair to compare this bike to something exceptional, because it never ever purports to be that. It is what it is, and it does that really well. So let's sum this bike up. Assuming you don't associate cubic capacity with prowess, then I think you'd be pleasantly surprised with this bike. If you need a bike either for the simplicity of riding or for commuting, then I think you should come and take a look at the Inazuma. It's got big bike looks. It's by far from the ugliest bike I've ever seen, and it's got its own little charm. I'd certainly find a place in my garage for it. I really would. It's a great solid machine. Its price is unbelievable. And yeah, good job, Suzuki.